All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with week 3 of Ultimate Techniques of Top Producers. This week is all about client communication. Client communication is week 3. So today we're going to be talking about how to properly communicate with your clients, how to properly follow up with clients, some things that you should do and say, and some good habits that you should start forming. All right. Client communication. In real estate, top producers know that excellent communication skills are crucial to their success. Clear, concise, and timely communication builds trust with clients, helping them feel informed and confident throughout the buying and selling process. Effective communication ensures that transactions close more efficiently. It also enhances relationships with active listening, responding promptly, and conveying complex information in an understandable way. Top agents can better understand and meet their clients' needs. So we're going to take a deep dive onto how to communicate with clients in the next pages. And the first thing we're going to talk about is understanding personality types. So regardless of who you work with, you're going to be working with people that have different ways that they like to communicate, also have different personalities. That may make it super easy for you to communicate with because you have a similar personality, or may make it a little challenging to communicate with because you have totally different personalities. So it's good to understand how different types of clients communicate effectively. So the first personality type we're going to talk about is an analytical client. So this analytical client is very detail-oriented, logical, and data-driven. They prefer to make decisions based on facts, figures, and thorough research. They may come across as cautious or even skeptical until they're convinced they have all the information they need. So can anybody here think of somebody, whether it's a past client or somebody in their family, or maybe even yourself, that has a very analytical personality?
I currently have a buyer who is like that, and I'm just like feeding him a ton of information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my life, my husband is an analytical client. He is an analytical type of person. So I already know in my relationship, whether, we're working as husband and wife or partners in the business, I know that if I'm going to provide him something that I feel strongly about, he's going to want to know about the data. Tell me about what happened. Tell me what led you to this. Give me the research. Like something, whether it's a client or I can put it in perspective, is that we're looking at upright freezers for this year's harvest because we have a chest freezer. I picked out a freezer, and then he wanted to know the data behind it. How many cubic feet is it? What's it rated? Blah, blah, blah. So I already came equipped with that, and I had it, and I sent him the link so he could read the ratings, and that made him feel comfortable enough for us to buy the freezer that I wanted. So analytical clients can't help it. They're just very data-driven people. So how do we best communicate with them? It's super, super easy to get irritated with an analytical client, but if you know this going in and you can recognize it, you can provide them the data that makes them feel super confident in your abilities. So provide them the data. Be prepared to share detailed reports, statistics, and market analysis. The more data you provide them, the more comfortable they're going to feel. So don't be afraid to print out the prior MLS listing and the tax card and the relist report and the RPR and have your marketing presentation done. Also, if you guys don't have a marketing presentation, you guys are all going to get one at the Hermitage office meeting. And those of you who are jumping in online that are not part of the Lawrence County, Mercer County area, so those of you who are in Beaver, Allegheny County, I don't expect you to come the whole way to Hermitage, but if you're online, I'm going to put one back for you so you have it. So provide them overwhelming data to support what you are saying. You need to be patient and precise. So avoid rushing them into decisions. Take time to explain things clearly and answer all questions thoroughly. And then use email or written communication. So the analytical person wants it in writing. They prefer to have it in writing as opposed to just having a conversation. How many times have you had a conversation with somebody and they're like, can you send that to me in an email? Or do you have a flyer for that? Or do you have a contract I can view ahead of time? That's your analytical personality, because the analytical person will almost double guess their own thoughts and feelings, and they have to justify that with the data. So the analytical person is very nervous, and the data has to support in their own brain that they're making the right decision. So if you look at it that way, it makes it a little easier that they're not very self-assured, that they need that data in hand to make them feel comfortable as a consumer to be able to move forward. Next, the driver client. The driver client, they are results oriented. They are decisive and assertive. They know what they want and often rush in to get it. The value efficiency and dislike unnecessarily small talk. Drivers are focused on achieving their goals and expect you to be as well. So who here is or knows somebody who is a driver? Anybody? Who is a driver? Somebody?
I've had past buyers who it seems like they don't want to, they don't care, I should say. They just want to get it done, or what's the next step, or time frame and the contract we're supposed to meet. But they really do care. It's just that their driven personality is like, okay, let's move forward.
Right. I am more of a driver. I don't want to sweat the small stuff. I don't need all of the data and details. I just want to get it done. Let's get it done. Move on to the next thing. Get it done. That's kind of who I am as a personality. So best communication approach is be direct and efficient. So get straight to the point and focus on solutions rather than problems. Like, okay, we have a problem, getting the solution. What can we do so we can get this? I can get this off my plate and we can move on. Present clear options and actionable steps. Here's our problem. Here's what I'm going to do to try to fix that. What do you think? Okay. Respect their time. Keep meetings and conversations brief and to the point. They appreciate agents who can keep up at their pace. And use phone or in-person communication. Drivers prefer direct forms of communication where they can quickly assess your competence and move forward. So if you've got somebody that goes a mile a minute, is always doing something, does 10,000 things in a day, and you often say, well, when do you have time to do all of this? They're probably a driver. They're a busybody, and they have a lot to do, and they want to do it quickly. So picking up the phone or having an in-person conversation with them where they can get all the information out like word vomit really quickly, and then getting the task done is the best way that you can handle a driver. Next is the amicable client. The amicable client are friendly, cooperative, and value relationships. They often make decisions based on feelings and trust. They may be more concerned with how decisions affect others and seek a sense of security and reassurance. Who knows somebody like this? Who knows somebody that leads with their heart instead of their head? Kathy says her. Who leads with their heart instead of their head? Nobody? Nobody on this call?
I have agents on the other side of that, and I feel like you have a little bit of wiggle room with that.
Mm-hmm. They're eager to please. They're eager to please even if the decision hurts them. And we get into a lot of deals, especially with sellers, where we always want to save them from themselves, because especially when it comes to like the BRI or something like that, and say we have a contract where it's as is, and they've already taken a beating on the price, and they've given full seller's assist, and they've given more commission than they said they were going to. And then they come back and say they want a new roof. And then, 80-year-old granny wants to give them a new roof. And you're like, whoa. Well, they're good people. No, Nancy, no, like this is business. So sometimes we have to reel that amicable client back in and save them from their own emotions. But what's the best way to connect with them? The first is to build rapport. Take time to connect with them on a personal level and show genuine interest in their needs and concerns. Be supportive and reassuring. So offer encouragement and reassurance throughout the process. They need to feel confident that you're looking out for their best interests, and use face-to-face communication with them. Amicable clients often prefer in-person meetings or video calls where they feel more connected to you. Okay, so you see each person here has a different communication style. All right, we have two more here. The expressive client. So the expressive clients are outgoing, enthusiastic, and people-oriented. They enjoy brainstorming, are often talkative, and value creativity. They may be more interested in the big picture rather than the details and enjoy being involved in the process. An expressive client. Who here thinks that they are expressive or they know somebody who is expressive in their personality? I would say that maybe I'm a little bit of the expressive client, and you can have more than one. You can have a client that's more than one.
Yeah, I'm probably expressive, but the last one, amicable, because I'm definitely like to please, like Paul with my heart.
And a little analytical there, Rebecca. You're
A little bit of everything.
And Jamie is more analytical and a driver. What do you think? All right. So when you communicate with an expressive client, you want to be enthusiastic and engaging. So match their energy and show excitement about their ideas and goals. Encourage open discussions and creative thinking. You want to focus on the big picture. Don't overwhelm them with all the small details. See how a driver doesn't like the small details? Neither does the expressive client. Highlight the key benefits of the overall vision. Use phone calls and social media. Expressive clients enjoy dynamic communication channels where they can share ideas and get quick feedback. All right, next, skeptical. Skeptical clients are cautious, questioning, and often need time to build trust. They may have had negative past experiences or are naturally wary of making big decisions. They value honesty and transparency above all. Who has a skeptical client right now? Anybody?
I surely do.
I know. I was waiting for that. All right. Best communication approach. Be transparent and honest. Don't sugarcoat information. Cut it to them straight. Be very upfront about potential challenges and how you plan to address them. So talk real with them. The skeptical client needs real talk. Provide references and proof. The proof is in the pudding. Share your testimonials, case studies, and references to build credibility and trust, and give them time. Don't pressure them into making a quick decision. Allow them the space to process the information and draw their own conclusions. All right. So here's an exercise. This is your non-homework homework. Do me a favor, and in your book, find somebody in your life that is analytical, who's a driver, who's amicable, who's expressive, and who's skeptical. And nobody's going to check this. Nobody's going to read it. And then determine what is your primary personality. Again, it can be one of those categories. It could be a mix of two of those categories. Sometimes you're two, just depending on the mood and the situation. But find out which personality kind of resonates best with you. The best thing you can do is if you're trying to learn personality types, if you read the description and find somebody in your own life, whether it's your spouse or your child or your best friend or a parent or whatever that matches this personality, writing it down will help you recognize and be able to mirror to your clients how you actually deal with somebody in your personal life. So with me knowing that my husband is very analytical, it helps me to be able to, when I have a client who's very analytical, I've had great practice with my husband who wants the data. And then I can use that as a tool to service clients who also have very similar personality traits as Anthony does. Or if they're a driver, wants to get things done very quickly, it's easy for me to say, okay, well, I also have a lot of driver in me. So if I was in this situation, what would I want? I would want the information already prepared in advance. This is what my home is worth. I already have the documents pre-filled out for you. I'm not going to go line by line, but I'll give you the cliff notes of everything. Ask me questions if you got anything. And I would start the conversation with, I really appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. So this will help you as your own general exercise, be able to remember in your head when you show up to a seller's home and you're doing a listing presentation, how you need to take that information to the client based on the other experiences you've had in your personal life. Any questions on personalities? No? All right, moving on. I have a little bit about this in here, only because this is something that I cover quite frequently with agents, and that is building professional maturity. And any of you that are on the call that have been doing this for any number of years knows that not every agent is professionally mature. Okay, it doesn't mean that they're being unprofessional. It just means that they're not professionally mature, meaning that they haven't grown to the point within their professional relationship, their personal relationship with their self and in their business, that they're really able to contain their own emotions and their own actions for the benefit of their client. And that's what we're going to talk about here is, one thing that doctors or nurses or anybody in the medical field does, and I have the highest respect for them because that is a hard job, is one thing they learn how to do is personally disattach or disassociate with their patients. And that sounds like a really harsh thing to do. Okay, I'm not escaping the fact that that sounds really harsh, that they're disassociating emotionally with their patients. But think of it this way. If a nurse had to go to work every day and got emotionally attached to every patient that they had, especially if they were in, say, hospice care or a cancer ward, could you imagine how much turmoil that nurse would be if she took it personally every time a patient died? Those clients, especially in hospice care, are coming in to die. Okay, so that person has to learn professional maturity to be able to protect themselves from the disasters that sometimes happen in life so that that nurse can serve other clients who come after it. And the same is true in real estate, only usually, not always, we do sometimes have clients that pass away, but usually it's with us, it's with stressful emotional things that we're going through. So building up your professional maturity is so important. So the first thing you need to do is you need to have proper rapport with your client. So you need to establish trust and rapport with your clients. You need to have a respectful approach with them and show general interest in their needs and taking time to understand their goals. But you also have to respect boundaries both ways. And this is super important because we build rapport so well with people that it's so easy to get entangled into their lives and start to feel the emotions that they're feeling. You have to also understand that you have to have boundaries, not just for your client, but for your own well-being. That means that you have to know when to step back from the situation, respect your client's boundaries, and have your client respect that you also have boundaries. So you need to avoid overstepping by contacting them at inappropriate times or pushing too hard for decisions or getting too involved in their personal life. And again, people, this sounds really harsh because, oh, our clients are our friends. They're not. They're our clients. Your clients are not your friends. They are your clients. And the minute something goes awry, it doesn't matter what kind of rapport you've built. They will be the first ones to throw you under the bus because they are looking at you like a professional that they care about, that they admire, that they respect. But you're not family and you're not their friends. You're their realtor and they are your client. So we do need to respect boundaries in that manner. It's very, very hard, or it's very, very easy for the realtor to suffer from a broken heart with their clients. And that happens a lot because whether they're having some type of marital dispute or other family members are getting involved, or the husband and the wife are fighting about which home they want, or they're having a baby, or whatever the case may be, we should listen, we should build rapport, but we should also set boundaries. Okay. These boundaries also consist of when they can call and text you, how much they can demand things from you. Getting calls from your client at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday is inappropriate. Let me repeat it and say it louder. Getting calls from clients at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday is highly inappropriate. Set your boundaries now, because as you grow and instead of having 1 or 2 clients at a time, you've got 10 pending sales and all 10 people need your attention, you are going to wish that you set boundaries in advance. It is okay to tell your clients, I work Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. After that is my family time. It's okay to say that. It is professional to say that because you're setting up your own boundaries. Now, I always told my clients, hey, if there's an emergency, if there's some type of, emergency that needs dealt with immediately, shoot me a text and tell me, it's a 911 emergency and I'll call you. But I can promise you there are no emergencies in real estate. The only emergencies your clients are going to say is, oh, I ran into the seller and at the grocery store and he was mean to me and now I feel some kind of way. That told me that I didn't set proper boundaries with my clients. All right, keep an open mind. Each client is unique, and professional maturity involves keeping an open mind to different perspectives and preferences. Listen actively and be willing to adjust your approach based on your feedback. So I think this goes without saying. If a client tells you that they are unhappy with something that you're doing, offer them solutions. Don't tell them that they're not valid. They're bringing something to you. Agree. You don't have to agree with them, but you can empathize with them and say, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. Let's work on a solution to fix it. And communicate clearly. So clear and straightforward communication is key to avoiding misunderstandings. Use simple language, avoid jargon, and ensure your messages are understood. Be transparent and honest, but keep it professional. I talk to agents all the time when something is happening behind the scenes and the agent's like, oh, I got to call the client and tell him. No, you're not going to tell the client anything until you have first figured out and understand the situation. We're not going to call and gossip with the client, who is then going to be really upset because you don't understand it. So don't even think they're going to understand it. We're going to figure out what's going on first. We're going to do it with a level head. Let's write out the facts. Not not all of this other garbage that the other agent is being mean to you and she hung up the phone on you and they're being unreasonable. No, what are the facts? And then we present the client the facts, and all that other garbage, it is not something that needs to be presented to them. Okay. So communicating clear, keeping it simple, avoiding all of the other jargon, get all the other jargon and emotion out of it. It is our job to keep them as calm as possible. And when we're in an emotional state, we pick up the phone to gossip with our clients. That is unprofessional. That's not professional maturity. And you can do this with other agents too. So make sure you're practicing this with other agents. All right. When less is more, communicating with highly emotional clients. So if you have a client that is highly emotional, don't take the bait. Please stop taking the bait. Listen actively. So listen to them, let them know they've been heard. Offer reassurance. It's going to be okay. Oh, well, this, that, and the other, and these people won't replace the toilet in the basement, and I don't know what we're ever going to do. It's okay. I hear you. I understand. Offer reassurance. That sounds really tough. I understand. I'm listening. Avoid overloading information. Avoid coming back with that emotional response that says, yeah, the seller's a real a-hole. And how could they do this? All this money you're paying for the house, they won't even fix the toilet. Like, that's throwing gasoline on a fire. All right. So help them come up with solutions rather than fueling the fire of their own emotional unrest. And be present. Just sometimes clients just want to vent. They just want somebody to hear them. They're not yelling at you. They're yelling to you. Allow them to get it out. Tell them that you understand, and then offer a solution. All right. Questions on professional maturity. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I thought it was important to mention because we all go through this with ourselves, clients, a lot of times other agents. Any questions on that stuff? No? Have you guys ever encountered from another agent professional immaturity? I know somebody has. It's not a chance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Even to the where I've had other agents, they don't know what to do. So I'll get a phone call and they'll say they want me to tell them what to do because they don't know. So usually in that case, like, I'll suggest, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but, I'll suggest what you can do or say. I even had this one agent, she actually wrote down verbatim what I said. Like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, and that's great that they reach out for help. So that shows that they know they don't know the answer. And instead of acting in an immature manner, they've reached out for support to work as a team. So I actually feel like that's a great part of professional maturity, that's saying, okay, I'm having trouble handling this and I don't want to throw gasoline on a fire. So I'm going to call out a lifeline. I'm going to call this other agent, see if we can work on it together. So I think that that's really great. That's a sign of an agent that's working on their professional maturity and really working through it. It's the ones that, just kind of act like a lunatic. We get a lot of those. They just act like a crazy person. And it's like, why are you so mad? Why are you so mad? Like, what has upset you so bad? There are no emergencies. There are no true emergencies in real estate in our profession. And I get that people often think that everything is an emergency. Clients always think everything is emergency, but there is no true emergencies in real estate, at least none that we can control. All right. So now we're going to go into 30-day follow-up communication. Oh, yeah.
Hey, so I just wanted to add in just one thing that I remember you telling us, and I try to, do that, especially when I'm calling expireds, is to never talk bad about another agent. I always try to highlight, to kind of understand where they're coming from, especially when people are like, oh, they never showed my property, or they did this. And I try to come level-headed with it, trying to be optimistic. And, even just with clients being optimistic, seeing things from both sides. So being on a buyer's side, the seller might be, going through this or that. They're also doing the same thing that you're doing. So, not trying to take advantage of people.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip. That is a great tip. Psychology will tell you that the more you talk bad about somebody who is not there to hear it for themselves in the presence of others, the more the listener takes whatever you're saying and pins that against your own personal being. So if you would go into a listing appointment with an expired and say, oh, well, your agent didn't do anything, she must have been lazy. Well, the minute that comes out of your mouth, the audience automatically reverts that back to you are going to be lazy as well. So saying something positive or saying, oh, okay, well, what would I would do different? I would get a professional photographer in here. I mean, the photos that were on your last listing are fine, but I think that they could be potentially better. I think they're fine, but I think that if we took a little extra time with the marketing that we offer, they could be a little bit better. Not saying, oh, these photos are just shit, they're fine, but I think they can be better. So kind of reversing that around and using the tools that you have, not to put down the other agent, but to improve upon what they started. So no, that's a great tip, Rebecca. Thank you. All right. So we're going to talk about follow-up communication when it comes to our clients and our leads. And this is something that top producers become very, very good at, is communication. So one thing that all agents need to learn if they're building their business is understanding leads and clients. So it is a common misconception with new agents that anytime somebody goes on a website or anytime somebody calls into the office or sends an email, that client is going to close on a house immediately. And that, unfortunately, is just not the way that the world works. Clients and leads are two totally different things. So a lead that comes in, and you guys all know this, a lead that comes in is just an inquiry. That inquiry could come directly to us and only us, or it could go out to the big world of real estate. Okay, so especially third-party leads. So understanding how that works is important. So think about Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, any of the other companies. Their job is not to sell real estate. Their job is to collect data. They are a data company. So they direct somebody onto their website. That person puts in their data, and then they sell the data to real estate brokerages and agents like us. Now, they sell that at a high price. It's expensive. If any of you have purchased leads through a third-party company, you know that they are so expensive. The average Zillow inquiry in our market is about $142 per lead. $142 per lead. So think if you were a data company, a big box data company like Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and all the other ones. If you're selling data to an agent for $142 every time you give them a name, phone number, and an email, well, why couldn't you sell that data to 2 agents or 3 agents or 5 agents? And then you can multiply that number. Why wouldn't you? In fact, Realtor.com, when you buy leads, if you've never bought leads from Realtor.com, they are probably the most transparent. And it tells you at checkout that the data, the lead that you're buying may be shared with up to 3 agents at 3 competing brokerages in addition to yourself. Okay? So when a lead comes in, not only is it going to you, it is going to other agents and brokerages. Why? Because they can make more money off of it. That's why. So follow-up is important. Speed to lead is important. So within that first hour, this lead is getting bombarded by agents. And sometimes it's the luck of the draw of who calls them first, or sometimes it's about who makes the best impression. Sometimes it's about who follows up the best. So this is why I'm constantly harping on everybody to make sure that they're getting their CRM taken care of, to make sure they're doing their drip campaigns, make sure you're calling, texting, emailing, doing your 7 touches. This is why we do them. All right. So we're going to run down a 30-day follow-up plan for how you can effectively communicate with your leads to eventually turn them into clients. This is not a one and done system. This is a 30-day follow-up plan. I would prefer, just so that all of you know, to follow up with these leads for at least 365 days. If you're using OneSuite and you're doing drip campaigns and you're using the ROGU general follow-up template, it will follow up, I think 145 or 146 days or something like that. Really, 365 days is key. And then at least setting them on something like a monthly newsletter or something after that, because I have had leads that came in through Zillow and Realtor convert years after years, because I never let anybody off my drip campaign ever. I have people from 18 years ago still getting a drip campaign from me until they terminate their email and it starts bouncing. They're still on a drip campaign. All right. So week 1. Day 1, you do your initial follow-up. So send a personalized email or message thanking them for their interest, introduce yourself, provide a brief overview of services, and invite them to a call or meeting. Include contact information, link to your website and any relevant resources and property listings. And then add the contact to your CRM database and set up those drip campaigns. All right. So then day 3, you're going to give them a phone call. Make a phone call to introduce yourself more personally and to start discussing their needs. Be friendly and professional. Offer to schedule a property tour. So again, get that appointment. Day number 5, send a follow-up email. And I'm not going to read all of these for the full 30 days. You guys can read them and follow along. You can change them a little bit. What's most important is that you're providing an action and content on each one of these trigger days. So an action and a content. And if you're following the drip campaign, the ROG general drip campaign, it follows very similarly in an email form, this communication. Now you still have to call and you still have to text and you still have to do those things. That your CRM isn't going to do that for you, but it gets all of those emails out of the way and it starts touching them right away. Week 2, you're going to provide value addition and relationship building. So day 8, maybe send them a market update. So send them something that's relevant to their market, some insights or statistics. Day 10, engage with them on social media. Maybe find them on social media, friend request them, send them a Facebook Messenger request. Follow up on day 12 with a call or a text message. Week 3, you want to send another relevant resource. So maybe the home buying guide, a checklist, a blog post from your website. Let me stress that again. a blog post from your website. So you're driving the traffic back to your website. Send a curated list of properties that match your criteria using your one suite, using your one app. Day 21, you want to do a check-in call. Week 4, closing and conversion efforts. So invite them to an event or an online webinar that you're doing. There's an idea. Hold a monthly online webinar for first-time home buyers using the home buyer guide. Do a final follow-up email. So send a finalized email summarizing all your interactions and the next steps they can take. And then day 30, do a personal touch. Send a handwritten note or personalized message expressing your appreciation for their time and interest. If they still have not started seeing properties with you, or booked an appointment, or maybe they're not responding after your 30-day follow-up, that is the point with this lead that you can go ahead and let your drip campaign take over. And then maybe reach out to them every month or so and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Hey, I saw this listing, and send them a listing link from your website. But your first 30 days with this client is crucial. Now, for those of you who are on the Zillow leads, I challenge you to look back at the leads you've received recently. At the bottom of the page under the contact information for your clients, when you open up their profile, it says buying a property in, and then it has a range. And sometimes it's 0 to 30. Sometimes it's 3 months to 6 months. Sometimes it's 12 months plus. So this just goes to show that not all leads that are coming in are looking to buy tomorrow. A lot of them are looking to buy in 30 days, or maybe 3 months, or maybe 6 months, or maybe 12 months. The consumer isn't always going to be ready tomorrow. And I think a lot of times, agents that are not thinking of business as themselves as business owners, they just think of themselves as agents. They want to grab this low-hanging fruit, and they're really not building their business. They're not building rapport with people. They're really not helping them to recognize what their next steps are, because it's so easy to give up on these leads. I called them, they didn't answer. I called and left a message, they never called me back. I sent them a text, they never responded. Once is not enough. Once is not enough. You should be following up for 30 days. Now, anybody who has looked at their lead generation with me knows that we usually set up a spreadsheet of leads per month that they're receiving, in addition to their CRM, because that really helps you hyper focus on okay, these are the leads that I got in the month of May. Here's their name, telephone number, email address, what their property of interest was. And then we build out columns after that. It says week 1, how did you contact them? Week 2, week 3, week 4, here, did you meet your trigger marks? Because only then, when you do that, only then when you track that, can you really say what your true conversion rates are. So, if we have an agent over here that has a 2% conversion rate, tell me what you're doing. I can't tell you that the lead is garbage if you only called them once and you never called them again, because the lead isn't garbage. The agent is not working. So there's a clear comparison. But if we have a lead over here and it's okay, you called them twice week 1, you called them once week 2 and sent a text. Week 3, you called them again. Week 4, you called and texted again. And during that time, you sent all these emails and they still haven't responded. Okay, the lead is probably garbage. And we'll need to notate that so that we know where to spend our efforts when it comes to these third-party lead generation companies, right? So you need to start looking at it like a business owner and understanding that your communication with your clients and how you communicate and when you communicate and how often you communicate is part of building your business. All right. So, look, we got done 3 minutes ahead of schedule. And I talked a lot too. All right. Give me your thoughts, suggestions, opinions on client communication for this week. Nobody? Everybody quiet? No? Does anybody disagree with anything we went over today? And it's okay. I have professional maturity. I can take it. No? Everybody quiet. Okay. Go ahead.
I do have a question. So, when we get the sold.com leads, and let's say the phone numbers that we're calling don't work, but we don't want to necessarily cross out that lead? What is there a point where we're saying like, oh, that lead is not a good lead,
Sold.com leads are kind of their own animal. And we're going to be starting to do individualized training on leads from sources. Because Sold.com is its own animal. So
Okay.
just an example of how we get Sold.com leads. So there are different levels of Sold.com leads. So we buy territories as a broker. So we have a partnership with them. And there's certain territories that we have a partnership with, and then there's certain territories that we don't have a partnership with. So when we get our report, we get a report once a day that says this lead went to Sold.com and they provided their name, the property address, their telephone number, and their email. And that comes over to us. And that's a primary lead. Okay, so we're just giving you the information they put in the system. Those are our better ones. Okay. And then we get these other leads, and basically they're just a name a lot of times and a property, but they didn't give their email address or their telephone number. So what the girls do on the back end is they do a reverse search and find a potential phone number and email address, which is why sometimes those phone numbers don't work because the client didn't provide one.
Right.
So we're back tracing that. And then we have the last kind of lead, which you guys see come over to you. It's called a concierge lead. So the concierge lead is whenever I send over a lead that'll say seller lead, pre-booked appointment, 30% referral to referring broker. That means that, either that client called Sold.com directly and scheduled an appointment with us, or one of their virtual assistants called that client and scheduled the appointment with our brokerage ahead of time. Those are how those three work. So if they're pre-booked appointments, those are your best type of lead, even though they cost the most amount of money. Those ones are ones you should absolutely 100% not give up on, no matter how long it takes you. Until they've listed with somebody else, you should not give up on those leads if they're pre-booked appointments. The other ones, if you have their name, the phone number doesn't work, no email, but you have the address, those are people who didn't give the phone number to begin with. So if it's a bad phone number, they didn't give it to begin with. So I would say that maybe sending them something in the mail every so often would be your best course of action, or looking up another phone number and seeing if you can find it. But there's really no email or phone number to communicate with them on. So maybe you do a monthly newsletter and you put them on your mailing list, or something like that is something that you could do. Because if they were on there, they were looking to potentially sell. They just didn't want to be contacted directly. So it's kind of one of those weird ones. Sold.com is a weird animal.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I definitely have questions about, I think it'd be good to go over individually the lead sources, because like I had someone call through, I got a Zillow call this weekend, and I took the call. They wanted to, it was actually a pre-scheduled one, the real-time touring, and I booked it, and I called them, and I think I kind of bit myself in the ass by kind of saying like, yeah, I'll meet you there. The only thing we have to have you sign is that one show contract, and it ends at the end of the showing. Well, I bit myself in the ass right there. So, they didn't want to be tied down, but then it's like, well, why waste my time and go out there? And then they already had an agent they talked to potentially list their house. I think I'm saying the wrong things. But also, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
So
you do have to think in terms of, it's a cost of doing business sometimes. And I know nobody likes doing that. Nobody likes wasting their time, or nobody likes going there and then somebody doesn't show up for an appointment or whatever.
Or
but
they
again,
don't want to sign.
Yep. But again, it comes back to, if you're going to be a top producer in the market, you have to be a good business owner. Right. And sometimes there is a cost of business. There is a cost of business that just sometimes feels like, well, if I change this, I could, but then it also holds back your production and stops you from growing. So me and Olivia and Kat and Anthony have talked about it. I think that to remain on the LEAD program, this is coming down the pike. To remain on the LEAD program, we are going to have required trainings for leads because I think it's beneficial. I think it provides better conversion to understand how people got there, what they're asking for, some techniques on conversion, and then, proper follow-up for leads too, because it is, unless you've purchased them yourself and really dug into the data, it's really easy to not have your conversion rates be really crappy because you don't understand what they're seeing or what their expectations are.
Right. Yeah.
Guessing.
I also saw something on TikTok, a realtor do something about what Zillow doesn't want us to say. And I don't know if we are filling out the app that they have, then they'll send you more leads or something like that. But I thought it was interesting and just what you shouldn't say, you know what I mean? Because then it does definitely deter the lead or the potential client. So
yeah, and that's a good point with Zillow. So that every Zillow lead is recorded. So
right, yeah,
anybody,
I've listened to them before.
Yep, anytime that you talk to a client on a Zillow line, it is recorded so Zillow can listen to it, and then a copy is sent here to the brokerage. So, and to be honest with you, I don't go through everybody's log unless we're doing a training, or if we have somebody call back into the office and they complain about who answered the Zillow call, we'll go back and reference the recording. And we've had that happen. Well, this agent told me that, and I listened to the recording. I'm like, my agent absolutely did not tell you that. I just listened to the whole conversation. So, but that's why we preach book the appointment in 15 seconds or less. Book the appointment 15 seconds or less, and then ask them if they have an agent. And then if they do have an agent already, you can say, well, unfortunately, because you're already represented, I cannot do that appointment for you. I'm so sorry. You'll need to contact your agent. But yeah, we want to keep things as small as possible. So going back to the personalities, we don't want to overwhelm them. If they ask for the data, give them the data, but we also don't want to overwhelm them. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to book the appointment, know that you're going to be there, and then get off the phone. So, and then we'll talk about some conversion things and then how they're signing the document at the property and things like that when we put the training together. It's just something I'm still working on at the current time.
Okay, that'll be great.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for showing up for this week's Ultimate Techniques. I hope you found it valuable, and we will be back next week, same time, same place for week 4, Supercharge Your Branding. And of course, I'll stay on the line in case anybody has some questions for after we're done. But if I don't see you today, please have an amazing day and stay dry out there.